Mr. Andy Powell.
Yay! Hey! All hail the Bard!
All hail the Bard!
All hail the Bard!
All hail the Bard!
Do you know, I got that in
Just
Budgings.
woken up the neighbour.
I got that in Budgings the other night. I don't know, it's terrible. Thank you, Terry. Oh, what a wonderful evening. We have got, and I've learned this word tonight, and it's a wonderful word, a gortheth of bards. Yeah, because I'm slightly Welsh, and that is Welsh. I'm very slightly Welsh. This ear is Welsh. But so I'm the Bard of Stony Stratford for 2020. What a gig, eh? When we saw that, and you know, I thought, yeah, I'm gonna get loads of gigs and go and meet those wonderful spoken word people and all over the planet. And then I watched the gig go and leave my diary, and they still are. But this one is live. This has the fear. This has the jeopardy of being in front of people in real time, and it's a real pleasure. So my thanks to Terry for setting all this up, and the Bardic Council, Mr. Steve Hobb and Mr. Mitchell Taylor. My poems are usually quite short, so you get more of them in the 7 minutes. But it weren't very good in terms of weather this morning. In fact, for the last 2 weeks, it's been awful. So I thought I'd do this one about, you know, going out in your wrong coat. So I'm suffering from the wrong coat. I set out this morning with a destination in mind, but the climate changed and now it's the wrong coat. When it's raining, I'm too warm in my goose feathered down, and it don't keep the rain out and just makes me frown. It's the wrong coat. I thought it would rain, and then it snowed. I'm very dry, but very cold. The wrong coat. Thought I would pack one, you know, just in case, but it's the wrong one. Never needed, but carried from place to place. The wrong coat. Seems to be for fools, but it doesn't end there. With the wrong coat blues, for last week I went out in the wrong shoes. There you go. I don't know how you clap on mine, but you don't need to. You can just sort of wave, you know, do the old, yeah, that's it. I'm pinned, I can't see it, but everybody else can think it, you know. To go down the other end, about 18 months ago, I had a little bit of a health scare, and I ended up in hospital. And where a lot of people are, my thoughts are with them. But I ended up having to go to the endoscopy department. So if there's any children here, block your ears. Never before have I felt so ropey while waiting for an appointment in endoscopy. I know it's tenuous.
Sorry.
I'm a new poet, come on. Confronted with the inner me, I had an outbreak. Humility. But it's hard to feel a decent bloke when you're perched on the end of an endoscope. Endoscopic rhymes have now been complete, and your kind thoughts are appreciated. The prognosis was good, and for which I was pleased. But I also know now where I left my keys. Oh God, people are laughing at my poetry. That's the first. It's been a very strange year as Bard. I've only pretty much had one subject matter, but I've seen some wonderful things go on through the years, and people have invited and commissioned me to write stuff to celebrate things and to open things. In this year, I've opened a gallery, I've opened and I've been at a graduation. Now, a good friend of mine are the Davis family, and young Emma Davis graduated from music school, and she asked me to write a poem about a graduation, and I don't think anybody's ever heard it except her, so this is a first. And I was very privileged because this is somebody at the start of their journey, and you know, I'm not at the end of mine, don't get me wrong, but let me tell you, I'm down a few stations now. So this was written for Emma Davis's graduation. Many years have you been packing the knowledge and the treats for the journey to be taken through life's twisting streets. All your memories are behind you, all ambition is ahead. All who love you are around you, and all your dreams have not been fed. In this special moment and on this special day, we have all come together in this unusual way. For despite this thing that ails us, we still celebrate your hard work and dedication and your achievements all today. Make sure you take this moment, find time for celebration. Take our love and proud good wishes today, your graduation. There you go. That's for Emma Davis. I do write Christmas cards if you need them. Okay, so I've got 1 more minute, so I'm going to do a COVID poem. There's a lot of COVID poems. I'm actually writing a book called Coronaverse, so it's all yours when you want it. So I'm an engineer, and I'm very good at measuring things. So I can do it by guessing and guessing accurately. That's just what engineers do. So I noticed that many other people aren't good at guessing things. So 2 meters has been challenging for some people. So
Yeah.
I thought I'd write some guidance. It has come to my attention, and I feel I should mention, that I have a boundary you should respect. 2 meters distance between you and this instance of an aging, opinionated example of neglect. However, I have noticed, and that's why I post this, that some of you don't know what that is. So I've created a table so that you are able to know how far to stay away is. 2 meters equals 400 garden ants, 83 1/3 postage stamps. By the way, you can test all this. 77 beer bottle taps. 25 bathroom taps, 19 1/1000ths of a football pitch, a 400 row of a neat cross stitch, just over a standard door's height, or 2 times the bite of an average great white, 13 500ths of a jumbo jet, or 33 1/3 of a false teeth set, 7 1/1000ths of the RMS Titanic, and 143 5/1000ths of the iceberg that sank it. Just over the height of one Donald Trump, or 25 times the average speed bump.
Well done there, Zero.
Get him in there early. If these numbers seem hard to explain, it's 200 times the size, and now this is your part to take part. You can insert any politician that you don't like's brain. If it's radio frequencies you think in, 144 megahertz is you'll be needing. That's an in-joke for us engineers. And da you'll be sending. So now that you know, from my 2 meters, please go to keep yourself safe from us poets who orate. There you go. Right. Woo! I need to now hand over to some of our sponsors this occasion. We have Louisa Hobbs and John Marshall, who's going to just talk a little bit about MK Food Bank.
Right there.
Oh, look at that. Fantastic.
I forgot to mention the hat to you, Louisa. Sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry. I haven't got one to hand. Right. Hello there, everyone. Thanks for having us this evening. As an acknowledgement of the donations and generosity offered, and in keeping with the spirit of the Virtual Bardic Bash 2021, the past and present managers of the MK Food Bank present our story of the food bank, with the help of the 3 spirits from Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Please note we include language and quotes from the original Dickens story. In preparing for this event, we have been truly humbled by the parallels evident from the privations of ordinary people in Dickens's time compared with those we witness today in the 21st century. We're also thankful and hopeful that we're not facing an audience of Scrooges. Indeed, across the community of Milton Keynes, we have many people who selflessly support our work through donating their food, time and money, without which we could accomplish very little.
Now, as a former manager of the food bank, I concur with the sentiments expressed by Marley's ghost. Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance and benevolence were all my business. But also, like Marley, my time is nearly gone. But I am here tonight to thank you for your generosity and with Louisa to share our food bank story. Now listen, all of you, for the 3 bell chimes that will herald the progress of our story. I'm the manager of the food bank past. You may make bold to inquire what business brought me here. Well, I'm stopped at a certain warehouse door. Some of you may know it on Stacey Bush's. When I came to work here in Christmas 2011, we gave out some 6,000 food parcels to those in need in Milton Keynes. By Christmas 2019, our delivery of food parcels had increased to over 14,000 a year. Now, although those figures almost speak for themselves, perhaps, like Scrooge, you'd rather not bear it. Yet, like the first spirit of Christmas past, I have told you what are shadows and of things to come that have been. They are what they are.
I am the manager of the food bank present. Perhaps you have never seen the likes of me before, have never walked forth alongside children and families in need. I saw a vacant seat and a food bank carefully preserved in need of a new manager. And in good heart, I took up the challenge in March 2020. Within a week, the full impact of COVID-19 was upon us. Social distancing, face masks, shielding, self-isolation, lockdown, job losses, and increasing pressure on people already struggling became a real game changer for the food bank. In a short time, demand for emergency food surged. We have seen a 4-fold increase. Where we had been delivering over 1,000 food parcels a month, we're now delivering over 1,000 food parcels a week. Last year, over 27,000 food parcels were issued. Many thousands are in want of common necessities. One of the gentlemen who visits Scrooge to elicit a donation. None of this would be possible without the amazing response we received from local people, businesses, supermarkets, schools, churches, faith groups, and not least the local authority. I am the manager of the food bank yet to come. In Dickens' tale, the final spirit never spoke, only pointed to the shadows of things that may be. It reminds us that whatever is to come, we all have capacity to change these shadows, in however small a way, by how we live our lives every day. Food banks are most likely only going to become more needed. As a community response to the privations ordinary people will suffer as the effects of the pandemic continue to play out. More than ever, Food Bank will need your support. But from past experience, we know we can count on you. In the I don't know what happened to the chime. In the Dickens story, Scrooge realised that the time before him was his own.
He also resolved to live in the past, the present and the future, and was glowing with good intentions.
And as for the food bank, with the support of the community, we'll continue to do all we can to deliver food to people in need for as long as it is required.
Indeed, God bless us everyone.
But we want to say sincerely, thank you for your time, for listening, and for all your donations.
Ah, humbug.
Thank you so much, Louisa and John. That was wonderful, and thank you for being there for a lot of people. I know of professional musicians and theatre actors that are using your services. So, you know, in this current times, thank you so much, and I'm so proud that we can donate to you. Okay, on with the show. Now, I have the great pleasure of introducing who was the second bard of Stony Stratford, and I was there. Well, I happen to know this wonderful person because she actually is an incredible writer. She writes wonderful pantomimes. I've had the pleasure of acting with her in some brilliant Shakespeare. So let's celebrate the wonderful Danny antagonists. Over to you, Danny.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Hello, Andy and everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm still very freaked out by this whole concept, but it's lovely to see you all next year or before then, hopefully, in the flesh. I'm going to whiz through 3 fairly short poems. This one is quite important. I wrote, it wasn't exactly a love poem, but it was certainly, I had somebody in mind when I wrote it. And unfortunately, in December, we did lose him quite suddenly. Just a long-time friend of mine who was not only just recently settled down, but recently had a baby. And I hadn't seen him in a long time because of lockdown. So it was a big shock to myself and the many hundreds and thousands of friends that he's got. And this is called Love, Lost. When love steals my verbosity, when communication breaks, when my confidence falters and my indecision quakes, vowel sounds barely formed, mock and scorn me, leave me torn when I'm lost to words that curve in plumes of smoke and smoulder. Chances fold, grow colder, no more flames to stoke. Doubt spoke, first softly with a whisper, but persistent, etched away at hope. And the ground won by my boldness merely crumbled, melted, broke. When debate aroused my curiosity and drove it to advance, love stole my verbosity before it had a chance. Thank you. That was from the first book called Empty Threats, so I guess this is a mirror image of it, but copies are still available. And likewise of my slightly newer, but still now quite old book, Emotion Memory, which is just a couple of years old now, and cover designed by the wonderful Andy Powell, which I'm very happy with. I think it looks fabulous. So see me after if you're interested in either of these. How are we on time? Okay, great. Actually, yeah. I'm wondering if probably just to do one more, actually. You know, I don't want to hog my time. It's called Shipwrecks. You crash into my shipwreck, and I know I am undone. Salt sweat drips where kisses miss and glistens in the sun. Sails bulge against the raging storm. Surges swell and crush below. Rip, ride, thrashing tempest tide, splinters in the undertow. Resist the sighs and cries from sirens' tongues. Lash our bodies to the mast. As moistened skin slips between knots and rippling limbs hold fast. Plot a reckless course to where gnashing rocks threaten our fragile flesh, then tumble among the wreckage until our timbers are enmeshed. And as we deep dive for treasure, scavenge uncharted ocean floor, navigate colliding currents until they burst the flooded shore. How broken vessels beat a tattoo onto the submitting earth, where thrusting, spewing swells break into foaming surf, and first urgent gasping breaths on these undiscovered lands plunge deeply these two shipwrecks into darkest, wettest sands. Thank you very much. I don't know if that's a bit early, but I might just leave it at those two for everyone. That's okay.
Danny, that's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to hear and see you live as well. Wonderful. So my next guest, I'm just realising that we have enough bards here to form a football team. I just wonder who we would play. But so my next guest had me on his radio show at the weekend, Mr. Paul Giffney, and it was a delightful show, I've got to say. And radio is an important part of, the front. I can think it's the front line as well. It's the way we keep in touch with our craft and the people in it. And he has a wonderful show. And thank you for inviting me, Paul. But let me introduce the Bard of Northampton, Mr. Paul Giffney.
Hey, hello.
And he didn't get the email about the dress code either, but there you go.
I'm sorry, yeah, just my pajamas. Anyway, so I've got 2 poems tonight, and like Andy's been saying, we have had a wonderful opportunity on the radio to share people, but I've missed everyone. And so thank you so much.
Miss you too, mate. Miss you too.
Yeah, I really do appreciate it. We've all been, well, I don't know about you, but you've probably got a bread maker, some sourdough, a yoga mat, some old headphones you're not using anymore, and things that you said, I'll learn this, I'll learn Spanish and stuff. Now, I have actually perfected banana loaf, just to let you know. And banana loaf is really important for me as it is vegan and it is lovely. How do you know if someone is vegan?
Don't worry, they'll tell you.
There you go. So there we go. Okay. This is called Coffee and Banana Loaf. And a big thank you to Tolkien, who I'm basically ripping off. All that is silver is not moonlit. Those who are lost are sometimes found. The young seek hands to hold in darkness. The old are patient, going to ground. Walking green space can sometimes help. Finding peace amongst the trees. Oaks are quiet. Birds are watchful. Flowers seek the working bees. Hoping voicens quieten sometimes. Not all those who wander are lost. Tonight, the cat purrs quietly, sleepy on my lap. The darkness held back by the light. The flame of Awen burns bright in Bard hearts. The past circles on today. Listen to your own locations. Listen to what the poets say. All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not affected by the frost. Thank you. Now, the next one is, as people are talking about bardic experiences, the first thing I had to do as a bard was write a eulogy. And that's horrific. Now, luckily, this lady passed before COVID happened, but I know she would have been taken by it. She would have been 82 last week. And it's to her I dedicate this, but to everyone's inspiration. It's called Watering Colours. I remember a time when I didn't know watercolours. My dad had presented a set, and yet they were nothing to me. Just blocks of bright colour, of fixed pigment. They had no sky, no road or grass or field in them. There was no flesh or face or look or smile. They were awaiting water and inspiration. Carrying a load of paper, booklets and paints came a woman with a face and a smile and a look. She showed me the road, the way to water the blocks. Add a little water to the page to make the sky watery. Add water to the brush to bring the colour to life. Add to the lines that you have drawn. Touch lightly. Time passed, and the boy went from the town. His blocks became smaller, less vibrant, monotone. The woman with the basket continued, smiling, knowing the boy, despite his height, would return. The paint sets became poems. The paper replaced. It holds now what a painting will do. A look, a face, a smile. The lady with baskets walks my memories now. Her smile, her look, her art, and the road. She still draws lines for me to fill in with life. Her smile and hope and care and her heart. The blocks are rewatered, life breathed in once more. A happy phantom is fondly remembered. It and she are carrying me home. Thank you.
Fantastic, Paul. Thank you. Do tune into Paul's radio program on a Sunday. Now, what's your radio program called, Paul? So Paul's a professional radio presenter these days. And what's your radio program called, Paul?
It's called County Culture. It's on NLive Radio, 106.9, but you can listen to it on nliveradio.com.
But also, people, remember, we are here to raise money. I will keep this throughout the evening. I feel a bit like I'm on Children in Need or Red Nose Day. We are currently at 19% of our total. We've got £135 already. If you haven't already put in some money, then there's the link in the chat. Go do it, folks. But not before I hand you back to Andy Powell with the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I feel like you're in the control box there. I should have a little thing in my ear, you know. So I'm going to introduce. We are a real bevy of bards, a budget of bards. I'm not going to use the bollocks word. Oh, I just did. But I have the pleasure of meeting the Bard of Cambridge for the first time, I do believe. Do correct me if I'm wrong. So let me introduce Glenys Newton, the Bard of Cambridge.
Hi. Hello. So I'm just going to try and put it so I can't see myself. It's off-putting. So I'm afraid I'm staying on topic with COVID.
It's okay.
Yeah. So since the beginning of March last year, I've been living with COVID. And so early doors in our relationship, I called him Kevin, just so that he could look me in the eye when he, you know. And so actually, me and Kevin have been writing back and forth to one another at the risk of sounding completely mental. And so I'm going to go sideways to read this so that none of you feel like you're Kevin, right? Because you're not, no one is. So I'm just going to read you a letter I wrote to Kevin. It's Kevin, we need to talk. Dear Kevin, we first met at the beginning of March last year at my neighbour's house. I spotted you straight away, but my neighbour, he was having none of it. And he gaily went hither and thither, ensuring your survival. He was a very good choice of human, Kevin. He certainly wasn't going to keep it to himself. You soon leapt to join me, and we've now been sharing my body for over 44 weeks, 308 days, 10 months. Look at it however you will. And as we've got to know each other so intimately, I decided to call you Kevin, COVID Kevin, so that we can relate, you know, on first name terms. Kevin. Nobody can accuse you of not having any imagination or creativity, as you managed to cook up the most bizarre symptoms. And so far, I've counted 73 symptoms before I just got bored. And you've gifted me during our time together: headaches, fevers, extreme fatigue, damaged feet, cough, the squits, neurological damage, loss of words, dodgy heart, dodgy kidneys, dodgy pancreas, difficulty breathing, to name just a few. And did I mention the extreme fatigue? That seems to be your tramp card. At first, I thought you might just stay for a little while and then be on your merry way, but it appears we're in it for the long haul. And I have tried to understand you, Kevin, and I do say I have a level of grudging respect for the strength of your survival instinct. I do admit to hating you at first. And you're scary, let's face it. You seem to take people out, and you've got no rhyme nor reason as to who you wallop with your indiscriminate gaze. I was talking with my friend Majid. Majid did this brilliant picture of you. He's nailed you. And he said I was understanding you all wrong, and I was a bit jealous at first. I thought that Majid liked you, and I developed this deep mistrust of you. And Majid was my friend first, blah, blah, blah. Majid said to me, anyway, that me and you have got something very important in common. We both want to stay alive. Well, that was a game changer. I felt a bit sorry for you then. Don't get me wrong, I don't want us to be together forever, but I kind of get where you're coming from now. Kevin, I have been in some seriously rubbish relationships, but you take the prize. This has got to be the worst relationship ever, and I do not want us to live together forever, but I see now that I can't just kick you out. It doesn't work like that. The third person in our relationship, however, is death, and neither of us want him lurking around. Actually, Kevin, apart from the sickness, the wanting to die, the nearly dying several times, the complete head fuck, unemployment, utter isolation, you have gifted me several things. I've certainly found out who my friends are. Some people run for the hills. Some people have stepped forward. Some people talk nonsense. Oh, and there's a lot of experts out there. I've also managed to get very creative. I started making stuff out of rubbish, papier-mâché, rather manically, trying to quell the ever-rising panic that I wasn't going to make it out the other side, trying to get my hands to work and coordinate. Because, Kevin, you have got into my brain. I'm not happy about that. That is my personal boudoir, a no-go zone. You have to get out of there, Kevin. And another place you seem to like is my feet, and I get that because I like my feet too. I like all feet, actually. I really like my feet. You've covered them in bruises and made them swollen and painful, and that means I'm often confined to the sofa. And that brings me to another gift: endless box sets. I am coming to the end of this fascination, but it's been great. I've never had the time nor the inclination to sit, lay, dangle for hours and days upon end watching stuff. I have never felt so utterly crap that all I can do is stare at a screen for days and weeks upon end, being a passive recipient of stuff. There is something quite glorious about it, although I find it hard to put into words. One of the reasons I find it hard to put into words because you've stolen very many of my words, and I love words. You shouldn't have stolen my words, Kevin. It was rude. Like marching into the sacred boudoir of my brain was rude. You probably found my words in a drawer in my brain, and it's rude to rummage around in other people's drawers without permission. I feel that once we've established a few ground rules, definitely some manners, we might get on a bit better. I love what you've done for the planet, Kevin. Really cool. If only humans would take that on board, it would be something positive out of this whole saga. Sadly, humans, they can be a bit greedy and more than a little bit stupid, which is probably why you're having such a raging success, Kevin. It's pretty easy to stay alive when loads of humans don't even think you exist. There are loads and loads of brilliant humans, though, so there's a great deal of hope. I love how you've made all the normal people really important, like delivery drivers. I wept at a delivery driver once in the early stages of our relationship, Kevin, and I started throwing money at him because I was so grateful. He probably thought I'd lost the plot. He'd have been right. I do like how you've given the world a chance to breathe, for animals to wander unhindered, for the birds to claim the skies. And I love how you've brought out the creativity and humour in people, some people anyway, and the generosity and kindness to fellow humans. It'd be great if that lasted. I think you probably meant to polish me off, Kevin, but you haven't banked on the power of love. I'm really lucky, you see. I've got people that love me, and I'm a mother. Never mess with the love of a mother. I also have a really, really cool dog friend, Tom, who wasn't going to let me go in a hurry. He has stuck to me like glue and taught me the art of chilling out. So, Kevin, for now, we continue to share my body. You continue to spring surprises on me every day, and I never know what you have up your COVID sleeves. You have taken me to the very darkest of places, but I'm still here. I don't know how long our relationship's going to last, but I am still here. I may never recover fully, but I will recover. You will either disappear or just go to sleep and wake up when I overdo things. I did think, Kevin, that you were simply getting us in training for what's to come, because as we've all come to learn, you never know what's just around the corner. And as creative as you are, Kevin, humans are more so. There's some fantastic humans out there, you see. And it may be thanks to you, Kevin, that we all find a healthier path to travel along together. with much respect from your begrudging host, Glenys.
Thank you so much, Glenys. I have to inform you, but my middle name is Kevin. And
Oh, sorry about that.
And
dodgy though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite. I've never forgiven my mother, but
you're cool, Glenys.
I don't think anybody's been christened Kevin since 1974, but it's a good name. I'm gonna keep it. Okay, thank you, Glenys. Our next former past bard of Stony Stratford, in fact, the 5th bard of Stony Stratford. I have the pleasure of knowing this guy as a great musician, friend, and fellow runner of things, the Voltage Open Mic, and currently the Virtual Voltage Open Mic. Mr. Pat Nicholson, Pat the Hat, as we call him. And it's a real privilege to introduce the last 5th bard of Stony Stratford, Mr. Pat Nicholson.
Woo!
Excuse me, my controller is speaking. My controller's in my ear.
I'm afraid it seems we've lost Pat for the time being. So if we could move on to Phil, that
Mr.
would...
Phil, yes. Well, yes, there we go. We're coping. We're just like BBC Breakfast here. Let's move on to. I haven't prepared now. I can't remember what bard of Stony Stratford he is. Hang on, I have a list. Hang on.
Easiest one.
Number 4.
Number 4. So I saw this guy once, and actually I've seen him more than once, but once you've seen him once, you think, my God, what was that? It is just brilliance, genius, or should he stay off the Red Bull? Let me introduce the 4th bard of Stony Stratford, Mr. Phil Chippendale.
Woo!
Chemistry, oh, chemistry, chemistry, oh, chemistry, chemistry, oh, chemistry, chemistry, oh, chemistry.
Woo!
I'm wearing my science tie, so...
lyrics.
I really bonded with that.
So, this poem I wrote for Stony Live in 2014, and it got 15/16 of it was published in the programme, which is almost 94%. So I think that was quite an accolade. Anyway, it's called Our Musical DNA. And it's, the codon is a sequence of 3 instances of 4 nucleic acids in DNA. 64 combinations are enough to make amino acids fit the right way. RNA transcripted from the DNA. This, the ribosome translates with the code. Such music is a means that animates each variety of life on our globe. Music too is everywhere suffused with codes, pitch, rhythm, tempo, meter, harmony. Let our musicians use their fine arts to bring life to the community. Song, dance, rock, blues, folk and more. Old ones, new ones, you will see. Musical codes will make our spirits soar. Bring music in all its variety. That's finished.
Oh.
Woo! So anyway, I hope Stony Live happens again before too long in real life.
Funny enough, so do I.
Okay, this is what I call proto-poetry. It's basically not poetry, but it could be poetry eventually. And it's entitled All the Vaccines I've Ever Had in My Life So Far. So it's diphtheria, tetanus, pertussia, polio, HIV, Hep B, pneumococcal, rotavirus, all kinds of meningitis, measles, mumps, rubella, cholera and typhoid, yellow fever, influenza, BCG, COVID, you are next. COVID, you are next. So I'll be guessing the vaccine eventually. I am. Ode to uranium. Depleted, they call me. Weak, effete version, my cousin enriched, and our very scary uncle, weapons grade. Am I not lethal? The old killer, not the new killer. Armor piercer, bunker buster, penetrator. Heavier than lead, yet surprisingly pyrophoric. An ancient word meaning it burns like flip, creating a mist of microscopic that enter every lung. We fall down through chemistry. So this is called Germany. Germany.
Woo!
And finally, a word about the quantum realm. They've taken away my shaman horns.
I'm lost for words, and none of them will rhyme. Phil, wonderful, mate, wonderful. You challenged the very thought process between my ears. And I've had the pleasure of acting with Phil in both Shakespeare and Panto. You can imagine what that was like. It was fun. Okay.
Oh no.
I do believe hang on. I've just had I've got the controller in my ear. No, I'm sorry. I should have left that last beer alone. I'm sorry. No. We've got Mr. Pat Nicholson back, I do believe.
Yeah, hold on. I can't hear myself.
We can.
Hold on.
All right. Don't touch the red button like you did last time, all right?
No, it's not me, it's the internet. I've got a very weak internet. Anyway, look, I'm ready to go.
Go, man, go.
Go. The time is on. Right, okay. I'm going to do two poems which I wrote back in April, May for about coronavirus. They're still very relevant. This is the first one. This is meant to be. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. This is called Here's Coronavirus. And I'm going to wave my hands around like that guy who used to be on TV. What was his name? No taking. Oh, here we go. Here's coronavirus. So please stay at home and leave it to your minds to roam. No need to journey in your car. The police won't let you get that far, unless, of course, you're called Dominic. One form of exercise a day, no more than 1 hour, or so they say. You can cycle, run. Oh, hold on. You can cycle, run or walk. It's all right, my auto cue has just collapsed. Stay 2 meters apart if you talk. Don't forget to wash those digits and just keep them off your face, you fidgets. These restrictions are here to stay, at least through much of March, April and May, June, July, 2021, 22, we hope not. I just added that. Boris has succumbed to fever long. His Tory chums must beaver on and try and save the nation's skin. What dangerous times we're living in. The kids are bored, locked in all day. They need some air, they need some play, and those with an underlying condition, like me, must shield themselves to avoid emission. Let's raise a cheer for the NHS and all those, yeah, there's my glass, and all those who are dealing with this fucking sorry mess. Maybe at the end we'll see a better world with love, peace and harmony unfurled. Thank you.
Yay!
Now, I've got a very up-to-date auto cue here. It's a few lyrics taped onto the end of a microphone boom. So we got the next one. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Oh, yes.
This is called Turn Off the Machine. We've turned off the ugly machine now, the one that keeps us struggling on, the one that turns lives into clockwork, the one that's slowly going wrong. Nose is no longer on the grindstone, toes no longer on ladders of success. We've stopped just this once to look around us, and we've seen how tremendous the mess. And no matter how much we still want it, no matter how we miss those rewards, it's time to re-evaluate reasons. It's time to stop sharpening swords. It's time to meet nature with harmony. It's time to bless all we've been given. It's time to just stop and be thankful and forget that we've always been driven. We can now clearly hear all the bird song. We can hear all the highs and the lows. We can see distant mountains more clearly. We can watch as the old river, which is about 100 yards over there, flows. The blink, well, it's closer at the moment, actually. The blinkers are on our eyes. They've been lifted. We can see with a myriad of light. It's time to rise up and rejoice now. It's time to say farewell to this night. Okay, thank you. Just move my auto cue on a bit. I got a problem here. Hold on. Here we go. I got too many mic stands here. Dear, too many cables as well. Okay, now who was at the 2016 Bardic Trials? Hands up.
I was the judge.
And Teresa, not Teresa.
When I won.
Vanessa, where's Vanessa?
I'm here.
I can't see you, but I can hear you. You won it, but one of your contenders, I think he got knocked out in the first round, was Rod Air. And he was a big fan of David Bowie, who had just died.
I remember.
I've got 2 minutes. So, and he was dressed up with a wig. Does anyone remember that?
I do. I remember.
Yeah. Well, he wrote this on Facebook, the first part of this. I've called it "You Whinging Humans, You." It's sort of environmental. Andy will like this. He did the first part, the sleepless human, and I added to it and sent it back to him. I'm the intelligent bird, okay? So it goes like this.
Thought that was me.
Well, I'm going to run out of time. Right, here we go. Here we go. Oh, you're over there, yeah. It's 4 in the morning and it's raining. The birds are singing, or they could be complaining. I don't know whether their feathers are wet, but they've woken me up and I don't want to be awake yet. I don't know if you're a sparrow, a blackbird or a linnet, but
don't know much.
Please do me a favour and put a sock in it. Okay, so that was Rod, and this was my answer as the intelligent bird, Vanessa. Was it Vanessa who said that or something? Trouble with you humans, you whinge and you bleat. Just think of the noise you make when you're out on the street. And having lived in High Street, Stony, I know this one. It's sometimes 2 in the fucking morning when we're trying to sleep. So we don't give a shit if that's how us you'll treat. And you plough up our homelands and you tear out our nests. You destroy all our insects and other edible pests. And what good are you when you mess up this earth?
Yeah.
There's too many of you. Why don't you stop giving birth? So don't come moaning at me about your long sleepless nights or the shit on your car bonnet or other such trites. Just clean up your act. I'm just sick to the beak. You've taken over the planet, you fucking greedy elite. Thank you. Good night.
Wow. I've learned some new words.
Thank you, Rod.
Very Pat. Well done, Pat.
I'm
This beer's good.
becoming speechless with each performance, but that was wonderful. Thank you, Pat, and thank you very much for doing the voltage and all that great stuff. You do as well.
Here, here.
Love doing it.
Yeah. So I first met Faye, who is my delightful next guest, I think at the Scribal session, and it could have been at a Bardic Trials. I can't remember. I just remember the spotlight shining on her face, and listening to their words. And so I want to introduce Faye Roberts, who has words that often hit my heart. So over to you, Faye.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here-ish. Sad am I without thee. He set off that morning with no particular aim in mind, just a need to see the sea, when suddenly wind whistle and gull cry were song and laughter, and thereafter he could never hear either without his imagination running raw. And what he saw dawn after dawn beggared forgetting, delving deep into sleepless nights. After the seventh such, he surrendered, and rendered bold by a hunger that begrudged his lungs their breath, he crept from behind his accustomed rock and touched what was never his to touch, laying rough hands on the sand-speckled pelt of the naked seal who danced like wind-blown spume along the shore, a woman for this while. She turned with a smile that died at the sight of uninvited fingers on her hide. The sacred made profane, no, she said, and please, but he didn't heed, just tightened his grip and retreated, while she, tear-streaked, trailing entreaties, tailed behind, taken by a binding curse too cruel to resist. And over the 7 years that followed, and their 3 children, kept from the sea by his bedrock fear of their freedom, she never stopped looking, between cooking and cleaning and every other mechanical task she blessed his house with, until innocence, in the form of their 3rd child, did find it musty and damp and tied tight with twine. What's this? At once she kissed her kids, blissfully slit those bitter strings, and slinging the skin over her shoulder ran like riptide for the shore, calling all the while wild as wind cry, shedding clothing with each step until she plunged, properly clad at last, into the welcoming waves. This was a tale of the Selkie folk. They never seemed to end well for everyone. Thank you. Cheers. Continuing, I guess, the sea theme, taking us from love that has been stolen, surrendered, rendered, and made free again. This rewinds to the beginning, that first glance, something a bit more copacetic, maybe. It's called Song to the Sea. A glance disarms my invention. My tongue tangles itself, tripping me to drown headlong in 2 eyes like the sea at sunrise, the exact colour of a long, drawn-out summer dawn in Orkney, reflected. Brain neglected, I happily bob and sway shamelessly, well, nearly, adrift in the sea of your regard. That small shame, that crimson shame, threads through the blue like spice, cutting those cool sensations with hot, sharp intentions, the edge to every catching breath, striking deeper and deeper into my chest with every push and cresting wave, and every tug and sighing release. Oh, my love, for you I'd turn sailor, learn to read the weather of your ways and ride the tides of your affections. No longer shipwrecked, I'd reconstruct your gifts, those glances given, smiles bestowed, and words exchanged, and on that craft of sighs and hungry nights, I'd traverse you, until I lost all sight of land, and there, rock rocked on the belly of the murmuring mystery, I'd weave my net of words and music and cast to catch the moonlight glinting on your wave tops and bring it home with me. Come, mermaid, and I'll sing to you, to tell you of a love between the elements. You'd see me true and sure to you, holding, encircling, delineating but never limiting, smiling as again and again you throw yourself into my arms and run your fingers down my cheek with a sigh like all the world's hurt. Easy. Thanks.
Beautiful.
Woo! Cheers. Right, I believe I have time for one more short one, according to this. So, let's then look at love that's a bit more interstitial in the undiscovered or unexpected places. This is called I Hope I'm in Clover. Some people are like the plants the gardener never intended, and I mean that in a whole host of ways, like the bright-tongued dandelion people, putting down roots deep in other people's pastures, networking on every breath of wind. Bramble folk sprawl broad-shouldered, laughing sharply at attempts to move them, shifting to block your way at every turn. Still others lurk on the borders, pale and weak-looking, no barbs or stings, just a quiet rustling. And yet every day there are more of them. I knew a woman once like Rose Bay willow herb, thriving on the sites of disasters, softening sharp shrapnel edges with a laugh like a flamboyant velvet splash, incongruous purple boa among the widow weeds. Cheers. See you later.
Woo! Okay. It's fantastic to see and hear you again. We do have, we do share some microphone empathy.
Yes, mate.
Yeah, see, it's a bit of road. You can't get away from it. But there you go. The next proper bard I'm going to introduce you to, I met actually at my Bardic Challenge last year for the first time. But I've been reading a lot because Dean's been writing some fantastic stuff and a lot of it. So you want to hit him on Twitter or wherever he posts. I want to introduce you the bard who hasn't got a glass. I need to get him a glass. I'm going to introduce you to the bard of Buckingham, Mr. Dean.
Hey!
Oh, Dean. I think you're on mute.
You're on mute, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Apologies. That's not very professional, is it? So I was just about to read a poem called You're on Mute. Here we go.
See what you did there.
It's really lovely to be here. And yeah, cheers, everyone. What a great evening so far. This is a poem called You're on Mute. You're on mute. Getting close to Saturday, weary of the work. Wrists too used to resting high, teams driving me berserk. Constantly there in the studio for everyone to see, have to concentrate much harder when I'm being the virtual me. My office door is always open in the real and virtual sense, but the closest to a colleague is beyond the garden fence. My real colleagues are down the road in an environment just like mine. The meetings we have regularly are conducted down a line. Our bodies turn to particles, electric pulses in the air, collect again on laptop screens within seconds we're over there. Amongst the many conversations and meetings that take place, I have to focus even harder, keeping a smile upon my face. When I want to add opinions, I have to raise a hand. The rules are slightly different in this rather virtual land. Nod to show I understand, put my laptop mic on mute, wait in line to have my say, use chat if they can't compute. We forgot to take ourselves off mute. We see others raise their eyes. It's always the same people. It comes as no surprise. You're on mute, they say in unison. They gesture with their hand. Some are quick to catch on, while some don't understand. You're on mute, they say even louder. They faff and panic more. They scramble for the button and their specs falling on the floor. You're on mute, one says frustrated. Yes, I know, the man replies, flustered by this technology with specs missing from his eyes. Once unmuted and we finally hear them, their line is very bad. They pixelate and freeze and blur. The poor reception drives them mad. I'm so sorry. My line is very bad. I'm afraid I have to go. That's another 5 minutes gone. What they said, we'll never know. When the meeting is close to ending and there's nothing more to say, we try to leave the meeting but can't seem to find a way. Press the small red button if you want to leave the room. Our little squares then disappear. That's my life on Teams and Zoom. Press the small red button, the chair says once again. There's no need to get aggressive. She leaves and whispers, men. Press the small red button. The lady shakes her head. She finds the small red button and the line finally goes dead. My smile then quickly disappears. I take a deep breath in and then I join another meeting. Another virtual me begins. I'm lucky though to have a job. Of that there is no doubt. Now I need some fun on the weekend. That's what life is all about.
Mate, genius.
I don't know if you remember, this was written back in September when we were about to approach the sort of second phase of the second lockdown. And the government announced that we needed to start snitching our mates when we saw that they weren't sort of doing what they were told. And so this is called an update on the snitchuation. Saturday the 13th, 2:15, 7 people on the village green. Monday morning, kids at kids' school gates, parents gathering in a group of 8. Friday evening, bright sunshine, seen neighbours drinking in a group of 9. Sunday lunchtime, seen grown men playing football in a group of 10. A family barbecue in a group of 11. Is this a COVID Marshall's 7th heaven? Divide and conquer, that's what they say. Governments grow in power this way. Have you ever known so much division? Immigration, racism, isolation, indecision? This global disease won't last forever, so stay safe, stay alert, but stick together. A short report for recreation, an update on the snitchuation. Without doubt, this year, without poetry, I would have found this this whole lockdown COVID thing an absolute nightmare. So poetry's been my absolute saviour, and there's been lots of you in this Zoom room that have been my saviours too, and sort of sharing our art and poetry and spoken word has definitely got me through. So this one's called Light in My Pocket, and it's all about that process of writing poetry. Light in my pocket, you followed me home. Art on a rocket, Prince dance on my phone. Upon throne in mind matter, creativity mutters, moths in mind eyes, permission to flutter, drawn by heart, dark and light cells of thought, cradling art where tales can't be taught, absorbed in a soul, contorted consciousness lies, thrown to the lions past sensual spies, called to the palace reflecting true self, dare not leave untended or up on a shelf, words yet to set down flow through my wrist, tips of worn fingers disperse in digital mist, all in one burst, digits explode on the screen, not pained or protracted or shrouded, just seen. No place for dust where these lines will lie, each drift off as atoms upon waves in the sky. Reach to receptors, receivers online, sip down, digested, crystal, fresh, cool white wine. Light in my pocket, you followed me home, projected through carbon, delivered by phone.
Wow.
Have I got time for one more? Have I overstretched the limit?
Yeah, go on, Dean. You're a bard.
Okay. Thank you. This is written back in September. This is a little bit historic now, but again, just another one about COVID, unfortunately, but it's an important one for me anyway. Everyone on tenterhooks, slightly weary or with doubts. No more lockdowns, they all chanted, determined were their shouts. We're tired of isolation. Our economy will break. I'm not sure how much more of this our business can take. Educators went back to work, children back to school. Every action scrutinized, trying to understand the rules. The world went back to work again, a new normal day by day. Every one of us still wondering, when will this virus go away? A second wave is coming, the experts kept on saying. Meanwhile, in the churches, the faithful kept on praying. and whispers of new lockdowns and towns restricted once again. Cases kept increasing. It wasn't if in conversation, the talk was turning into when. Students returned to campus, self-isolating in their rooms. Slowly educationalists were asking, do we go back to Teams and Zoom? No, they said, no more of this. This is simply government control. But they couldn't argue with the figures. These were questions of the soul. We can't go back to lockdown. We simply couldn't cope. It would be like economic suicide. Our futures hanging on a rope. Restrictions began to start again, introducing rules of 6. But the government said, keep on building. We'll build our way out of this with bricks. While simultaneously we built walls around us, we stopped people coming in, masks floating in the ocean instead of sitting in the bin. Democracy bruised and battered, Black Lives Matter fighting on, libertarians arrested as the protests carried on, US presidential elections exploiting the division, using BLM and COVID to help voters make decisions about whether Trump should stay in power, whether the Democrats could lead. And here at home in Britain, banks exploited politicians' greed, media across the spectrum with different stories from left to right, Boris Johnson's contradictions, Keir Starmer's leadership too light. No one knew what was around the corner or when this thing would end. We didn't want a lockdown. People want to be with family and friends. The chaos and hypocrisy, the confusion all around left everyone so desperate for a real truth to be found. We listened to Chris Whitty. The experts shouted from the stalls, don't listen to the government are fools. Don't listen to the businesses. They're in it for the money, but they govern us and lead us. What Whitty says is serious, not funny. Don't listen to those experts that were wrong. Jacob, Michael, Matt and Dominic kept the chaos rumbling on. Boris, please stop bumbling. Even non-libertarians value free. And all the time our young people trying to get a good degree and teachers trying to teach well and parents battling on. When will this all be over? When will this thing be gone? Everyone looked to entertainment, distraction through the arts, but the theatres were all closing. The arts began to fall apart. Meanwhile, other businesses exploited everyone and everything. Politicians, family members often got a ring. Do you know how to make PPE? Are you any good at tests? It doesn't matter if the experts say your products are the best. Here's $1 billion to help your party out. Provide us with the technology to wipe this virus out. We'll provide the testing and sort out a good vaccine. We'll settle it at a premium and keep your right hands clean. We'll have another mini lockdown, but it will just be for 2 weeks. A short, sharp shock to end it all with just 1 or 2 minor viral leaks. And we'll lift the rules at Christmas. We'll spread a festive vibe instead. So long as people get their presents, who cares about the dead? We can spread festive cheer to everyone and spread a little virus too. And on and on and on it went. Hypocrisy and chaos grew and grew. With these people that we're governed by, this thing will never end. We can't take another lockdown, but we've got to be good friends. Start taking this thing seriously, or it will be around forever. The only way we'll get through this is if we stay apart, but stick together. There's no escaping all this strangeness. This time is one big test. Can we come together and do things for the best? Look carefully at what is happening. Listen to all the hypocrisy, the mass Trafalgar freedom protests and face masks floating in the sea.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dean. And I'm looking forward to some more pandemic poetry because we're all writing it, aren't we? But thank you for that. That actually summed up the year. And remember, guys, everybody on this call, remember, we write the history. Okay, we write the history. We have one more fantastic.
Mitchell.
Oh, I know. Hang on.
Mitchell.
Got some premature. So I've known Mitch for a while now, and I actually succeeded him as Bard of Stony Stratford. And Mitch, he is also a fantastic musician, and he plays the shit I like, which I'll go on. Support that. You should get him playing some blockhead stuff, which is quite a tenuous thing because I've actually booked the blockheads for Togfest this year, and COVID blockheads right in Togfest in June. So get that. So he is the best anarchist I'd ever vote for. Let me introduce you to the 9th Bard of Stony Stratford and Mr. Mitchell Taylor. Thank you, mate.
Hey. Hello.
Oh man, this first poem's moaning about shit jobs I used to have, which been like a year. Does anyone know what that is anymore?
What, shit job or a year?
Either, to be honest. What time now? What's time? Oh. Anyway, they never explain the risks of minimum wage work, this grinding down of your mental faculties till you go berserk. There are years spent working with nothing much to show except for this long list in my head of useless shit I know. I can cash up, process refunds, search for stock on all the tills. I can set up accounts and credit cards, take payments on your bills. I know how to break down and deep clean a pot wash machine for the next day. I know when you pull a lot of night shifts, they never get it right in your pay. I know how to fake a smile, chat about the weather, and all the tools to survive in retail. I've seen people lose their minds thanks to the big Blue Cross sale. I've witnessed the chaos of warehouses, 3 months behind on orders, and I've watched very limited power go to the heads of most of my superiors. I've learnt new levels of hatred for pop songs played on loop. I've learnt the true value of an on-shift half-an-hour poop. I learned that in the quiet times, it's still best to look busy. I learned a lot of companies don't give a fuck about their mental health policy. I learned that those in management positions hardly ever do their fair share. I found a lot of employers who abuse their duty of care. I know a lot of companies don't like to employ the long-term mentally ill. The best person you can employ is someone so desperate they'll bend right to your will. And they never explain the risks of minimum wage work, this grinding down of your mental faculties till you go berserk. There are years spent working with nothing much to show except for this long list in my head of useless shit I know. Oh.
Blue dog.
Oh, some point during the summer, I thought it was a good idea to start recording with a good friend Billy Nomad doing an album of electronic music and poetry, where I learned to hate metronomes more than I ever did, poems more than I ever did, and luckily we managed to work on it just enough that we didn't get enough finished before they locked down and we couldn't work on it anymore. So that was fun. This is a lockdown poem. Does anyone remember Netto? Netto was good, wasn't it? Had the bags with a little dog on it.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, this is called Netto was always a one-way system. Netto was always a one-way system, and you know what? It never caused that much friction. Thinking about it, they used to charge you for the carrier bags too. No one really complained about it. It was Netto's. That's what you had to do. I guess what I'm trying to say is that nothing is really new. Do you know what people also said was a hoax? The Spanish flu. The Great Plague? Well, of course there were those that tried to blame it on the Jews. History repeats itself. Nothing is really new. I don't really see a sinister global conspiracy. I can't give our leaders that much credit. We're mainly governed by narcissistic fools who are only in it for self-benefit, who pretend that public school and family the connections are the same as achieving on merit. These guys can't even hide their extramarital affairs, let alone plan a global pandemic. I can't get my head around the idea that a cotton mask is now seen by some as a symbol of oppression. Like, after 10 years of austerity and socio-economic regression, the thing that makes people suddenly feel like their liberty is being threatened is being asked just to take a few little extra steps for the sake of other people's protection. But I can't really blame them. Everyone's confused and is just looking for something which makes sense Maybe it's just more comforting to believe in a shadowy global cabal than it is to just see it as rampant incompetence. When it's telling you that thousands of people might die, I understand not wanting to believe in the science. Just please don't mistake believing in the virus as governmental endorsement and blind compliance. I've never trusted this government. They're self-serving, they lean too heavy on jingoism. Yeah. They've mismanaged this crisis like they do every other. At this point, it's like tradition. When this is all over, we won't forget. We'll be straight out in those streets to evict them. But right now, we've got to do what we can to help keep everyone safe. Nothing is really new. Netto was always a one-way system.
Excellent.
Very, very much.
And that's why I vote for it.
Thank you. I'm gonna do one more. 2020 being the year that it is, I've dived into the always exciting world of dealing with medical bureaucracy.
Hey!
So this is about that. It's called Hold the Line. Look, you know what our budget is like. It's not that we don't want to help, it's just that we can't right now. Surely you can go private. It'll be a lot quicker. You'll find the money somehow. And there it is. The brick wall, years in construction. So many cuts that services no longer are able to provide their essential function for outpatients who used to be in and never want to go back. It's a choice of slamming your head against the wall or falling through the cracks. Cracks that have now grown to a city-sized sinkhole that gather up all the weight in and stagnates their souls. You're condemned to a life where you're stripped of control. They won't help you get back to work, but they don't want you staying on the dole. So I ask and I beg. I scream and I cry and I start to feel like I'm just wasting my time. That course has been cancelled. We're sorry. Back of the line. They say there's light at the end of the tunnel, but it feels like I'm going down a mine. But I keep on pushing for what feels like the longest time. I learnt to keep myself calm and try to stay on that line, and eventually it came. Just a little glimmer of light. Just enough to let me know that I was back in the fight. So hold on. Hold on to whatever helps you face this. One day, a light will come to guide you out of stasis. One day, you will start to make progress. I promise you, one day, it won't feel so hopeless. Hold on. Hold on, even though you shouldn't have to. It's the system that's fucked, so don't let it fuck you. Hold on, even when you feel like you can't do, just keep on holding on. There is a light at the end for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Brilliant stuff. Now the controller's talking in my ear. And we're going to have a break now for 10 minutes.
Hey!
We're going to open up the second half here. Actually, it's the second third. I think we've had 2/3. But this is the co-coordinator of the Stony Words Festival, which we are a part of tonight. And I've had the pleasure of knowing Rob for quite a while now, not only as a professional politician, but as a wonderful actor and raconteur and an organizer of this wonderful festival, Stony Words, and with his lovely wife, Liz. Okay. Who actually does the organizing, I've got to be honest. Rob's really crap with the internet. So let me introduce the co-coordinator of Stony Words Festival, Mr. Rob Gifford.
Woo! Yay! This is called show and tell, this bit. So that's one side of the programme, and that's the other side of the programme. And that means you don't see me, which is even better. Now, I've been thinking, if if there were 11 bards, what team would they play against?
Been 10. We had 1 sent off.
Well, all right then. But I think you'd probably end up playing against Barcelona.
Oh. Yeah.
Anyway, it's absolutely wonderful that this is the virtual launch of Stony Virtual Words 2021. There are lots of other great events. It's really frustrating that we can't all be in the same sweaty room with a sticky floor and lots of beer being poured over everybody, but who cares? Because at least we're seeing the creativity that has run across this town and beyond, actually, given that we've gone to Buckingham, Northampton, and even Cambridge. So, you know, we bring people together. As Andy said, all hail the Bard.
All hail the Bard!
All hail the Bard!
All hail the Bard! All hail the Bard!
Okay,
All
that's
hail the
enough.
Bard!
Stop. Stony Stratford's been welcoming people since the Romans because of Watling Street. Stony Stratford is an incredibly creative place, and over the next fortnight, starting with the Bard and ending with Tales Tattled and Told, we will include speakers from around the country and people signing up from around the world, including Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Australia. So great evening, guys and gals. Keep it going. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you very much, mate. I look forward to the time we can be in the same garage again, rehearsing. But the next gentleman that I should introduce also was a past bard of Stony Stratford, but I've lost the ability to count now, so I can't remember which one.
He was
but
seven.
Number 7. Thank you, controller. I happen to know this gentleman before he was famous. Now we have a little confession here because we used to work out together. Yes, one of us kept it up. Well done, Steve. So we used to work out, so I've seen him in shorts. Let me tell you, that's probably. Yeah, I know. And of course, he is the subject of an anti-poem that he should be barred, and he was. So I never understood that. But anyway, he also was one of the greatest fans of my band. He used to come to every gig, and he was the only one actually, but he did come to every gig. Let me introduce the past bard of Stony Stratford, Mr. Stephen Hobbs.
Woo! Oh, Stephen.
Hobbsy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Hobbs, you're breaking up.
You always say that.
10 Italian billionaires were journeying to Dubai for a 3-week VIP vaccination vacation, a snip at $50,000. To while away the arduous 10-hour flight, they supped vintage champagne and told each other stories. Here is just one of those Boccaccio Decameron stories. It's called The Third Telegraph Pole. A boy was cycling along the Fabbriconi Road. The sun, a golden yellow in the bright blue Italian sky. The boy was hot and thirsty. And as he approached the third telegraph pole, he noticed from a nearby orchard a branch overhanging the road, which seemed to have plums on it. He stopped, but he could not reach the plums. Just then, a young girl, well, more a young woman really, certainly older in years than him and taller, walked by. "Signorina, signorina," he called out, "can you give me a leg up to the plums?" She smiled, linked her hands together so that he could climb up and sit on her shoulders and pick the plums. They were ripe and ready to pick, and golden yellow, and as he picked them, he stuffed them inside his shirt. And then when his shirt was full, he climbed down. "Signorina," he said, "hold out your apron. You can have half of my plums." "No, thank you," she said. "Don't you like plums?" "Oh, I like plums well enough," she said, "but I can have plums any time I like. This is my plum tree." "Oh," said the boy, and he looked at the girl, and her eyes were as blue as the Italian sky, but soft, not hard. And he heard his heart thumping against the plums in his shirt. "Will you be my girlfriend?" he said. The girl smiled. "Well, thank you, but there are some years between us. You are 13? I'm 14. You are 14, but still in short trousers, and I am 19. If we were to be boyfriend and girlfriend, people would say rude things about me, but I would protect you." "I'm sure you would," said the girl, "but it would be so much better if you were to come back here when you were 18 and ask me to be your girlfriend." "Right, that's settled then," said the boy. "I shall be 18 on the 25th of October. Will you remember?" "I'll remember." "Ciao," she said. The boy cycled off. 4 years later, on the morning of his 18th birthday, he cycled along the Fabriconi Road. And as he approached the 3rd telegraph pole, he slowed down. She wouldn't still be there, surely, after all this time. But there she was, waving to him and calling out, "Ciao!" He called back to her, "Ciao," and waved and stopped next to her. "Happy birthday," she said. "What a handsome young man you are now in your long trousers. Now that I'm 18, he said, I've come to ask you to be my girlfriend." "Well," she said, "now that you are 18, I'm 23. And if we were to be boyfriend and girlfriend, people will still say rude things about me. They would accuse me of trying to steal you from your mother. It would be so much better if you were to do your army service and come back to me in 3 years' time." "Are you trying to trick me?" he said. "In 3 years' time, I'll be 18, but be longer. I shall be more. I shall be 21, and you will be 26. But it won't matter then," she said. "It won't matter. People will not dare to say or think anything about the difference between us." "Then that's settled," he said, and he cycled away. 3 years later, he cycled back to Fabriconi with his army discharge papers inside his uniform. And as he approached the 3rd telegraph pole, he slowed down. Surely she wouldn't still be there by now. She would have married and would have children of her own. But there she was, next to the telegraph pole, waving and calling out to him. "Ciao," she said. "How handsome you look in your army uniform." "Thank you," he said. "And now I would like to ask you to be my girlfriend, but today has been long. I have cycled many, many miles. May I have 1 or 2 of your plums?" "Oh, I'm sorry," she said, "but the plum tree burnt down." "Burnt down? Who would do such a thing?" "It was an accident. The barn with the hay in caught fire, and then all the buildings, and then the orchard." "I'm so sorry," said the boy. "But you're all right, aren't you?" "Well, not really," she said. And the boy looked at the girl, and through her body he could see the telegraph pole. And when he put his hand out to touch her forehead, all he could feel was the rough wood of the pole. "I'm sorry, did that hurt?" he said. "Not at all," she said. "But if you don't mind, now I would like to go. I just stayed here so that you would know what happened." The boy looked at the girl, and he saw that her eyes were the blue of the Italian sky, but soft, not hard. And he heard his heart beating against his discharge papers in his uniform. "Well, will you still be my girlfriend?" he said. She smiled. "I will be pleased to," she said. "Well, that's settled then," said the boy, and he cycled off. The following day, he cycled along the Fabriconi Road, and when he approached the 3rd telegraph pole, he slowed down. And there she was, waving and calling "Ciao" to him, and He waved back and said ciao. And he did that every day for the rest of his life. The boy on the Fabriconi Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That was fantastic. I was on mute there for a second. Victim of my own inadequacy. But thank you, Steve. And so we're going to move back to, because we said bards can do, current bards can do 2 slots. I think that's only fair. So I do welcome back the wonderful bard of Northampton, Mr. Paul Giffney.
Thank you. Woo! Yeah, lovely story. Thank you very much. I'm still at that telegraph pole waiting. It's no, we've heard a lot of stories and poems tonight, and it's just wonderful. And this is my first live thing since last year, since the actual Bardic Bash last year. And the reason for that is multifold. But the main reason is because of fear. By not hearing. I've not been able to hear any of you. And I've thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, and I was kind enough, and sorry, Andy was kind enough to come to my radio show and convince me to come to the Bardic. And it was like, yes, now is the time. Because we are all needing recognition. We are all needing applause. So I need everyone who's listening's help. So unmute yourself right now. And when I say the word applause, I just want 1 clap, okay? Applause. Okay, let's try again. 1, 2, 3, applause. Thank you. Okay, yeah, that's it. No, that's it. No. This is called stickers. It started with a kiss. Possibly, but I don't remember. I do remember a sticker, though. It was an adhesive acknowledgement, a decal demonstration of dental hygiene. I had brushed my teeth and I had a sticker and I placed it upon my bathroom mirror. I was 5. I proudly placed it there and I looked at it. I placed it next to my toothbrush and my teeth slowly rotted because I'd done it. I didn't need to do it again or again or again. Once the certificate, the solidified success, the solidification, the star, the certificate, solidification, I had moved on. Why achieve the same thing again, again, again? This continued. To others, I became lazy in tasks, asking for, well, proof. Well, it wasn't needed. School was not concerned. They had their proof. The parlour? No, the pudding. The pudding of Paul was all-purposed, proven. The academic spoon had stirred. My mixtures, marvellous. But Christmas comes but once a year, and that Yule-time pudding was yearned for. I wanted it daily. Showing off. Attention-seeking. Not now. Too chatty. Too talky. I live for the applause. 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 Drama and wordplay dance deliriously next to and dangerously close to hedonism. Another story, another time. But even at 12, I understood how adults can groom their prey. We are all prey. We seek our stickers, our acknowledgements. We pray for someone above us to acknowledge us, to reward us. I live for thee. Applause. 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 It started with a kiss. Teenagerhood became a place of torment. How to kiss? Why kiss? Who to kiss? When kiss? How do I kiss? There aren't lessons given. No, and teachers, they cannot help. So, where is the mark scheme? The grade criteria? Who is a good kisser? How do I learn? Rachel. New Year's Eve. 17. Alcohol. I did not get a sticker. It started with a missed grade. College, university had new levels. This I can relate to. New schema, new boundaries. Stickers are grades and labels of identity. I wear my identity, others wear hers. My teeth, they still rot. I learn new things, but I do not learn from mistakes. But you can get more stickers if you continue your progress. Thanks, sir. Thanks, miss. Aha. I see. My teeth, they stop rotting. My soul is now certified. It started with a kiss. My sticker is one of two. They are silver, round, finger placed. Look, look, I have achieved. I am proud. My remaining teeth, they shine. It starts with a sticker. We bards, storytellers, writers, listeners, creators. We achieve our kisses of acknowledgement, but we cannot live on money alone. We need applause, applause, applause. Oh, the irony. Rainbows are fading. Nurses are tired. They walk to work on worn-out soles. Our bardic boots, they still gleam. Unused, polished, waiting. We are zooming about in our slippers, at home, alone, indoors, indoors, indoors. Muted mics mean our minds become muted. Our words might get heard, but we are immune. We go hungry. We live for the applause. 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 Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Fantastic stuff. Wow, I've had a lot of words tonight and it's fantastic. Right, so my next former bard, right, taught me about life.
Don't tell them.
Oh, sorry, I gave him the plot away already. I know this lady professionally and...
You wouldn't tell.
I know, I'm sorry. But we used to work for the same people.
I've always been in the palm of your Palmerston.
Oh, I see what you did there. I love you. She is Palmerston's greatest fan, and then she makes a poem about it, which is always very worrying. But I'd like to introduce you, a former bard of Stony Stratford, Vanessa Horton. Fantastic!
Woo! Thank you, people. Thank you, people. I have 3 little items. Well, actually, one's a bigger item. 3 for you today. Apologies, the first one's sad, but then it'll get lighter and then it'll get lightest. This first one, I ummed and ahed about performing It's a very personal one. I've never performed it before, except at my 23-year-old nephew's funeral. Yeah. And it is obviously a sad poem. But I thought I'd share it because a lot of people are grieving and sad at the moment. But I'm hoping this poem is also sends a message of celebrating a life and for hope. So this is called Tapping Angels on the Shoulder. There can be no loss more keenly felt than this, which finds us raging at the edge of an abyss, seeking answers where there can be none, wanting what's happened to be undone. Matthew, your light blazed fierce and fast, perhaps too brightly for it to last. But you would not want the dark to win, so for you, we'll continue, we will not give in. Our memories of you will play on forever, and we'll carry your legacy together, each with a piece of your comet tail, each with our own special Matthew tale. I remember reading to you on my knee. I'd tell you jokes and you'd humour me. I'd do round the garden on your little hand, but then that dimpled cherub became a man. We'd talk of diving in oceans and skies. I said I'd copy your tattoo and the look in your eyes. I'd make you laugh, but you made me more, tricking me with the same prank as before. That tap on the shoulder to make me look the wrong way, and I'd fall for it again the following day. And yes, there was so much fun, it's true, but I remember so much more about you. How you always had time for others in need. How you'd quietly get up and perform a good deed. Your concern for our welfare always front of your mind. So thoughtful, so charming, so loving and kind. There was often a faraway look on your face, a tilt to your head as you stared into space. And I wonder if something was calling to you, if there was a plan, something you had to do. Maybe your mission was to teach us to live, teach us to laugh, to love, and to give. Because Matthew, you knew how to do all of those. Maybe that's why it's you heaven chose. We had your attention for a short while. You walked among us and made us smile. You made us all feel special when the special one was you, with everything you'd say or do. And now, no matter how sorrowful or bereft, we need to take up the standard you left. We'll carry it proud and high in your name. We'll honour you by not quitting the game. Your message was always to live life slow, be that in the sun or surf or snow, and we'll hold on to that message from this day on to make sure you're never truly gone. Matthew, we love you and we always will, and we know your light is shining still. You'll never feel pain and you'll never grow older. Now we know you're tapping angels on the shoulder. Thank you. So now it's January, and I think we're due some snow this weekend. And this is a little poem about January. It's called January, Queen of Winter. Icy white velvet weighs down the trees and drips from frozen leaves.
Oh, I might be.
Winter's icy arms envelop as the child of summer grieves. Yet see the beauty in frosted veins and greens turn silver pale, as brides of beech and mountain ash peep coy behind cold veil. See silken web turn diamond lace as the season gifts her jewels, all thoughts still on preservation, so far from spring renewals. Sap sunk deep in hibernation, roots clenched fast against the chill. Stony ground impervious now to the pleading robin's bill. So stark is beauty all around, a cold and bloodless queen. Her gaze holds us all immobile as we marvel at the scene. as January's frozen heart is chilled till it does crack and splinter. We bow before this sovereign, the Ice Queen, known as Winter. Thank you very much. Now then. Oh, hang on a minute. Just got to get the door. I think it's Amazon again. Yep. Okay, so many parcels. Look, I'm a bit worried. Listen, folks, listen. Can't read with my bloody. Where's my glasses? On them. There we go. That's better. Listen, folks. You must beware. There's some bad shit going on out there. Outside, I see a 5G mast, which has moved much closer since I saw it last. It's part of some alien plan to spray a virus and grab our land. And I now know how else they're attacking. Well, you know that extra Amazon packaging? It's sent you a box that's larger than what you thought, than what you bought. And, well, I've realised why. It's a Trojan horse. The empty part is full of virus. It's ill and then require us to get a vaccine, which has the role of getting us all under mind control. Somewhere behind me for a minute. So listen, the people, don't worry. There's hope, I vow. I believe the resistance is forming now. They are infiltrating Amazon as well. You want to know how I can tell? Well, I bought a vibrator using Prime, and I lay in bed. I had a message from the resistance head. And a picture from the message sender appeared in my mind. It was Idris Elba. So keep the faith, wait for a sign. Beat this invasion, hold the line. Look, help the resistance with their task, but make sure you open parcels with an oxygen mask. But now, there may be another message from that sender. I have to go, but don't worry, folks. I know my arse from my elbow.
Yay!
Oh my God!
Oh dear God!
Oh my God! I've got so much imagery in my head.
Sorry.
The best.
Thank you, Vanessa. How can you follow that? Well, you can follow that with Mr. Dean Jones.
Oh, do you know?
Yes, I know. Current Bard of Buckingham.
Hey!
Follow him on Twitter. I mean, Dean comments. I like people who comment. And so, Bard of Buckingham, Mr. Dean Jones.
Hey!
Go yay!
You caught me by surprise, Andy. I thought for some reason I was one after the next, but it doesn't matter. I'm ready.
And the controller in my ear.
I don't know if you remember back in December. There was a phenomenon in the sky. Jupiter and Saturn were very close together. It was an amazing sight. You could see it with the naked eye. And so I wrote a poem called "The Naked Eye," and it goes like this: two planets close together, close enough to be one star. From here, they're almost touching from one another, still so far. When Jupiter saw Saturn, the sixth planet in the set, what compelled them towards each other? A cosmic game of hard to get. A sea of stone and cosmic dust, a core of nickel, iron and rock. Look up into the sky tonight, you'll see two planets interlocked. Look up, it's quite unusual. Before from view they disappear. A phenomenon far above us, a billion miles away from here. Up high, within our galaxy, 600 million miles from Earth, you'd be 6 years old when you arrived if you travelled there from birth. And Saturn twice as far away as its furthest point from here. What a journey that would be, swimming through Saturn's atmosphere. Shooting into outer space, gliding through the colossal cosmic belt. 10 years to journey there and back and tell tales of how it felt. This would be the great escape. What a hypnotic cosmic ride. But only in my wildest dreams could I dance by Saturn's side. Can you see them beaming down on us, those great planets up in space? In my mind, I'm right beside them with a mask upon my face. I took a breath and looked again. The clouds obscured the view. The vapor mist now hiding both, not one planet there, but two. Jupiter and Saturn, visible with the naked eye. High above Earth's atmosphere, two planets touching in the sky. Woo! There's this thing. I'm quite a hairy man, but I've got no hairs on my arms at all.
Touche.
I know it's the weirdest thing. And so I wrote a poem called "I Always Wanted Hairy Arms," and this is it. I always wanted.
Chest for me.
I always wanted hairy arms, thick follicles on hands, phalanges like tarantulas, the fur that makes a man. A present from your puberty, which many ladies love. The fairy tale of alpha males, a hairy wrist from up above. A monkey kind of masculine, a wispy mattress under sleeve, a forest on your forearm, yet minor absent without leave. The grass is always greener, perhaps no arm turf is okay. If I could, I'd buy an arm wig or an antrobachium to pay. I always wanted hairy arms, but sadly, mine are bare. I think it's due to Asian genes that hair just won't grow there. And that's and my final one, thank you. Final one is COVID, but it's hopefully it's that kind of light at the end of the tunnel poem, and it's called Lockdown's End. Thanks very much for listening. The Lockdown's End. Suddenly, a door opened, and the light flooded along the hall. It lit up all the photographs and pictures on the wall. But these pictures were of the future, the photos of what's to come. They foretold better, brighter days ahead that hadn't yet begun. These scenes were filled with hope and fun, with family and friends. They promised that by the summer, we'd all be free again. With luggage at arrival gates, on a beach at a resort, in the pub with all our closest mates, no pandemic there to report. Face coverings no longer needed, grandparents can babysit, dinners out with partners, back to gyms and getting fit, the swimming pool, the cinema, to simply stop and talk, no longer covering faces when you go out for a walk, shaking hands and hugging and sitting side by side, when having conversations to not feel the need to hide, to actually go to work and mingle, grab lunch with other staff, on Friday afternoons go for a drink and have a laugh. Oh, goodness me, I've lost my place. Where is it? It's coming back. There it is. Children's parties and kids' discos, a comedy night, or just to bloody dance. Cross the Eurotunnel, stop off in Italy, Spain, or France. Festival tickets to Glastonbury. Take a train, a plane, or bus. Go on a cruise or take a ferry. Watch a show without fear or fuss. Life shines from these future corridors, from these pictures down the hall. Our dark evenings will get brighter. It's just a few months away, that's all. So hang in there, fellow humans. This is the last leg of the run. The end of tunnel light is now switched on. The lockdown's end has just begun.
Whoa.
Hope so. Woo! Yes, please.
Gino.
Thank you,
Love you,
Dick.
man.
They were excellent words. And yeah, we will do that. Okay, so let me come back to poet, musician, and storyteller, Faye Roberts.
Evening.
Her voice will be in your head all night because it's a lovely voice.
No.
Faye, over to you.
Thanks, buddy. Hello. Right. Sort of contrary to how people usually do these things, I thought I'd bring some new stuff to the this second set. Both of them written over the summer, or rather one in April and one more over the summer, and I'll tell you a bit more about them. This first one was written as part of NaPoWriMo, and I don't know if you folks know the unique pain of NaPoWriMo when it's when you basically try and spend April and attempting to do a new poem every day, and they can't all be limericks or haiku. And by the end of it, you are getting kind of interesting things turn up as inspiration. Look, I haven't done shoelaces this year, so yeah, that's kind of what happened. But yeah, we've been doing workshops, write-ins every Sunday afternoon. Zoom. It started as we might as well just sort of meet up for the next few weeks while this is happening, and then it just yeah. Should we keep going after April? Yeah. So it's become a bit of a thing now. In fact, if you want to join us, that's a link for our events. So if you just go to allographic.eventbrite.co.uk, you can find out about our write-ins and our open mics as well. So this one's called, and I keep meaning to look up exactly how it's pronounced. I think it's estivation, which is a posh way of saying things a bit dried up, waiting for rebirth, I guess. It's a sestina, which doesn't really matter because you can't tell a sestina when people say it aloud, but if you're interested, it's a sestina. And written partly because the person who taught us how to do sestinas was the first person we lost in April. So this is for Karen Freeborn. She'd probably tell me off about some of the imagery, but you know what? She can't. So she's just going to have to hold it for a bit. So this is called Estivation. I started to crave touch like water on a cracked rock. Desert hot, blinded with dust, knowing how rapidly it will soak in, never knowing how this blessing will never feel quite enough. I can't quite imagine the sensation of enough. And all I know is the touch of myself over and over, seeking the blessing of repetition, dry skin wearing into rock. There is a cradle of sensation waiting, I trust, in which I will submerge, cleanse myself of lonely dust. It's all I seem to feel, brushing dust from aching shoulders, collecting enough to drown in. I turn my face to the rain, daring its cold touch, a rush that could rock me to my core, win my blessing. It seems thin, my blessing. What can this husk offer but dust? 45 years accumulated on this rock, too much sometimes, but not enough. Screened and screening, touch fingertip to tempered glass. Breathe in. I've lived by the sea so long, tied in or out, but always present, a blessing of salt and movement, spray touch, licked lips, eyelashes, no dust. There only sand and battlements and force enough to stroke away the most enduring rock. So now I perch on my rock, high and dry, bared teeth, a rictus grin, too stubborn to say enough, to seek a closer caress for blessing, knowing it is nothing but more dust, another delay to truly loving touch. Sometimes I rock myself. That's not enough. Grip and scratch a touch too much in secret blessings far from webcams. Shaking dust. Thanks. Cheers. Yeah, it's not always obvious when my poems end, and I used to do this thing where I'd kind of step back from the microphone and do a little kind of little nod thing, and it can't quite do that with this, so yeah, you just have to wait for people to go, oh shit, clapping, all right. See what happens, really. We're all learning, it's all good. I'm only going to do another one more, and it's slightly longer. It's not fared well on Zoom. The first time I performed it, let's call it live, someone in the open mic had clearly decided to switch their camera off, but we got a lot of sloshing noises in the background, which suits the theme, but it was clear they were in the bath and didn't realise how much was coming across. It gets worse, because this is a poem that was commissioned from me by a hospital chaplain who wanted a non-religious poem to be able to read to people who were about to lose someone, who had just lost someone, or even the person themselves. So to have this kind of bath thing going on was a teaching point, I guess. So yeah, we're all learning as we go. This is a terrible way to introduce this poem, but it's called Night Song, which we both spent far too long trying to work out what it should be called. So we're going with the first one because titles are difficult. And I'm sure Mitchell will tell you it's like band names. It's the last thing you do. You just fling a title onto it. So it was a working title and is now the title. It's called Night Song. It's the silence that binds you. Deep in the arid darkness, sleep slipping through hot fingertips, you reach for a lullaby that swerves your grip. You eddy in songless spirals, throat dry with wishes you dare not even whisper. You touch each surface as you pass but stay untouched in turn, black-gloved, summoning nothing. Oh, come on, computer, that's not a good place for you to fiddle. Where are we? Yes, summoning nothing. And it's the silence, finally, that speaks, crackles into static, snags your sleeve in passing, the empty space, the jagged edges of white noise, the radio slipping stubbornly from its station. And so you slip yourself from the pacing round, ground yourself in a different kind of movement, finding yourself on the other side of the locked door for once. It's been a long day. Finally awake at this strange time, you take yourself to open air, dare any direction in darkness, trusting the road beneath numbly until you stumble among the reaching roots, the air cooler, moss-scented. And between the trees the river glitters to its singing self. Listen. It sings of the long-ago hills, the springs that birthed it, the streams that twined together, weaving separate histories into something bigger. It sings of the green things, the roots nurtured even as they gave it structure, held its banks in gentle, strengthening grips. It sings of the caress of rain, new water gifting grace. It sings of the sun lifting mist, giving moisture back, the dance of particles in refreshing air. It sings of the places that cupped and shaped it, being shaped in turn, luxuriating through flatlands, hurrying down slopes, resting in pools before moving on. And it sings of the sea, that great gathering to come, wide and wild, salted and loud, resounding the new song it longs to chorus in. There's no rush, the water tells you, and despair is a dam stifling and dividing you from the dance you set your step to the moment you sprang forth. Wade in, it whispers, plant your feet, heave the detritus you've weaved into separate pieces, set them free to join the flow that takes us to the sea. And as the sky reflects the pledge of the coming sun, the first bird chuckles sleepy, warming toward the tune of a new day echoed by the river. Your limbs are heavy, aching from the weight of the dismantled dam, but as you head home, you can feel a hum in your own chest, the promise of a song you'll sing again. Thanks very much. It's been a wonderful evening. Cheers.
Awesome.
Beautiful, Faye.
I've got to follow that.
You have.
Good luck.
It's wonderful. I should do my stuff and then say a few words, but then we have one star guest at the end. But yeah, woo, come on. Woo. I can see I've got a red wine smile. It means it's a good evening. So let me do a few and yeah, what a fantastic evening. I mean, it feels live, but it's not live. So I hope that we can do this in 3 dimensions. And I ask all the artists that have contributed tonight, would you join me in a 3-dimensional version of this when we're allowed to?
Hell yes.
I'm there.
Already there.
Yeah, some of us are more 3-dimensional than others, Andy.
Hat.
Thank you, Steve, one of my greatest fans. So let me do a few, and then we'll try and wind up. But wise men fail smartly. Ignorant men fail stupidly. Drunken men fail vertically. Obese men horizontally. Religious men fail faithfully. Evil men religiously. But all the features of failure that I can see, I can fail successfully. However, wise men succeed in wit. Ignorant men succeed in shit. Drunken men succeed in mirth. Obese men succeed in girth. I didn't expect a snigger there. Religious men succeed in belief. Evil men succeed in grief. But of all the features of success, when I succeed, I fail the best.
Yay.
Right, I want to do the one that did it for me for Bards. I've written loads of COVID poems, but you know, I'm trying to keep hope going. And one thing I've learned is that the words that we have done tonight and have done through the year have kept a lot of people going. And I think a lot of people will thank you. Those who create words, thank you. So this is the one that did it for me. I didn't expect to be Bard, but I did write this poem and it means a lot to me. So here we go. When loneliness seems your only friend and you can't see the light at the tunnel end, call me. Call me. Call me friend. When you type your thoughts instead of speak, where once you were strong, but now you are weak, call me. Call me. Call me friend. Don't tweet or post or sit and mope. Just ring and call me friend. If you're full of hate and cannot see, if you think you are better than me, call me. Call me. Call me friend. If you're building barriers to keep them out, where once you talked but now you shout, call me. Call me. Call me friend. Don't tweet or post or sit and mope. Just ring and call me friend. If you have no house where we could meet or sleep in a tent at the end of the street, just call me. Call me. Call me friend. If it's been a week since your last meal and no one asks just how you feel, call me. Call me friend. Don't tweet or post or sit and mope. Just ring and call me friend. When you see my smile is now a frown, and my world to you seems upside down, call me. Call me friend. For a call is just a simple thing, and it all seems right when I know you'll ring. So call me. Call me friend. Don't tweet or post or sit and mope. Just ring and call me your friend. There you go.
All hail the Bard.
Oh, yeah.
All hail the Bard.
Hail the Bard.
All hail the Bard.
All hail the Bard.
All hail the Bard.
All hail the Bard.
Hail the Bard.
All hail the Bard.
Why does that always happen?
Fuck off.
Terrible, isn't it, Andy?
No. It does really wind you up when you're in Sainsbury's or something.
You're going to have 2
You're
years.
hard.
Pointing at me now. Yeah, you can. Right, I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine. I have my friend beside me. And I don't know if you know this.
Oh, not the.
Oh!
Yes, mate.
Right, this is used for social distancing in my household, because I can tell you there is nobody within 10 meters of me now. So you think I'm going to play it? I'm not. I'm going to tell you a poem about it. But this is my friend. I should tune it now and then, but heck, you know. So this is. I don't know if you know, but I am the elephant's graveyard for all things banjo. There is not a banjo joke I do not know, and I really need to exercise this ghost by telling you a poem about the banjo joke. Okay, so I'm going to tell you my ode to the banjo joke. It's it's starting to grate on me a little bit. So here we go. So there you go. Now most of you know me as a cheery sort of bloke, but lately I've been the victim of a cruel banjo joke. They seem to pass aspersions at my musical ability and put me in the category of audible senility. It started with the difference between a banjo picker and in various friendly banter that takes place in my band. For example, the difference, and I know this sounds absurd, but between a banjo and a macaw, one is loud and nauseous, and the other is a bird. Yes, eventually. We can move this argument on to things of equal improbability, such as crossing roads with chickens. This can lack viability because a player and a chicken might not seem so big. But there is an outside chance that the chickens go into a gig. Effective pause. Questions are also posed on actions you would nurse, such as driving over a banjo and then using the reverse. Or wondering what would happen when dropped from on high. Seems fair, but then exclamating that no one would care. Oh, you're my fan. Who said that? Or defining a musical term like perfect pitch, you chide, i.e. tossing a banjo into a toilet without touching the side. Oh. When people make comparisons like horsing to a cart, some say a banjo is to music as Etch-a-Sketch is to art. Oh, you're a clever lot, aren't you? But the most hurtful remarks that pierce this cheery soul are those directed at me or the people involved. And now some define us pickers as in league with the devil, but it really does annoy me when they check the stage's level by monitoring the dribble from both sides of my grin. I accept. I should move on. Like water from a duck's chin, but he's got a gig to go to. It's like that bloody chicken. I know that bit doesn't rhyme, but then I've not been doing this poetry long, okay? Now, we are always accommodating and requests will entertain. But George Formby plays the ukulele. I know nothing by that name. I may be coming across angry. I wouldn't want to make a stink. But when you ask, do you know dueling banjos? What do you bloody think? Yeah. I can do the whole lot, but choose not to. So ignorance is not limited to those who play the 5-string. But there is one piece of banjo terminology whose knowledge I must bring. There seems to be a misunderstanding, a trend I must buck. But come on, ladies and gentlemen, it's pheasants that we pluck. Now, I must bring this little ditty to its ultimate conclusion and answer a question, so under no illusion. Why are there no banjos in Star Trek? I hear doubt.
Why are there no banjos in Star Trek?
Ridiculous.
Yeah. You've been to because It's set in the future, silly. That's what it's all about. Anyway, now it seems I've been disparaging to all us Banjo taxpayers, but at least we can thank God for giving us bass players. And homework is everybody use the banjo in their forthcoming work. So, I've thank you ever so much, all of you who have attended tonight and performed and listened. I hope we can do this in 3 dimensions as soon as we can. However, I think it's been good for all of us to do this live. And I've just listened to some wonderful words, and I shall go to bed happy and slightly pissed, I've got to say. And we'll do this again. I've never seen so many bards in the same place, and we're not in the same place. It's just the weird thing. So we'll do it in 3 dimensions. Please allow me to invite you all when we can do it safely. So before I go, I want to thank also the Bardic Council of Stony Stratford, which is Steve Hobbs, Mitch Taylor, and I want to introduce to you Terry Howie, who's going to tell you, or Red Phoenix, I've come to know her, is going to tell you a story. Over to you, Terry.
Good evening. Yes, I must say, I have to just say at this point, that it is my incredible honour to be the chair of the Bardic Council and to support the bards that we have here in Stony. But it has been also wonderful over the recent years to also be able to add to our Bardic family. It feels like we've got Bardic cousins and uncles and aunties all over the place now. And yeah, our Bardic family just keeps getting bigger. And I think through that, we're able to all support each other, share the words and create events like these. And so it's just so amazing to have you all here tonight. So thank you so much for giving up your time, coming on, performing amazingly. It just has been a wonderful night. And as Andy said, there's been a touch of the live about it. I know we can't all be in the same room, but being able to hear people laugh, having the little sort of like interjections and stuff like you would if you're all in the room, it has been fantastic. So thank you so much, all of you, both listeners and performers, for adding your voices and your comments, be them on chat or be them vocally, but also showing such etiquette on Zoom and keeping yourself sort of like quiet and respectful. It has worked fantastically. So my praise goes out to all of you. I do have a little story, and then I shall just sort of round up very quickly at the end, so if you do bear with me. But before I do that, I just want to say, if you haven't already booked onto the Stony Words, it starts tonight. It goes all the way through to the 31st of January. Even if you're not in Stony, so this is a plea to all of those outside, you can track down the Stony Words website. You can get events. All of them are now on Zoom, so you can book in, and lots of other different events are going on for the next 2 weeks. So don't sit at home watching box sets. You can do that anytime. Netflix will be there next month, but this you can do right now. And as soon as Stony Words finishes, then National Storytelling Week starts, and if you go to the Society for Storytelling, that will tell you all sorts of events that are going on, again via Zoom. So you can have 3 weeks of spoken word extravaganza beaming straight into your home. I mean, this is a gift, people, so really go for it. But yes, now after I've done a little bit of plugging, I shall tell a story, and then I shall give you the final total that we've received this evening. So, Nasruddin. It's very unlucky to tell one Nasruddin story, so I've got 3 short Nasruddin stories squeezed into one here for you. And Nasruddin, if you've never come across him before, some say he is the wisest fool, and some say he is the most foolish wise man. But on this occasion, when we meet him, things are tough. There has been an unfortunate plague that has reached this town, and times are hard. Work is scarce and bellies are empty. And poor old Nasruddin does not have a scrap of food to eat nor a coin to go and get anything to eat. And so he rummages around his house and he manages to find some battered pots and pans. He's probably been bashing them up, thanking the NHS. And so he gathers these and he heads off to the market, and there he comes to a merchant. And he hands the pots over to the merchant, hoping to get some coin in return. But the merchant simply takes the pots and pans and look at Nasruddin and says, well, if you wanted coin, you should come tomorrow, because then I would have some money. But I'm hungry today, said Nasruddin. Well, that's your problem, says the merchant. You've got a scheduling issue. And so Nasruddin wanders away, promising himself he'll come back tomorrow. But as he turns, a smell catches his nose and starts to lead him through the market until he comes to a baker's stall. And there are all sorts of breads and buns and pies. Oh, those pies, the smell of them. They sort of grab hold of him, and Nasruddin is transfixed. And whilst the baker is busy serving a customer, Nasruddin grabs 1, 2, 3, and he runs as fast as he can down alleyway until he finds some way to sit quietly and eat. And he eats and he eats and he eats till his belly is full, and there is relief coursing through every part of him. But it's then that he hears a commotion. He turns around and there is the baker, looking very angry, charging straight towards him. Nasruddin tries to get up. You know what it's like when you've had a really big meal? You're just a bit sluggish. You don't move so quick. And as Nasruddin tries to run, the baker catches him, turns him around and says, "Oi, thief!" And Nasruddin says, "No, I'm not a thief. I would never owe a debt, but the merchant, he owes me money. But I was hungry today, so I took food from you today, and I'll pay you tomorrow when the merchant pays me." And the baker says, "It doesn't work like that, sunshine. You'll come and work for me till you pay off your debt." And so Nasruddin, he went to go and work for the baker, day in, day out, day in, day out. And as the weeks passed, Nasruddin thought to himself, hang on a minute, I must have paid off those pies by now. And he spoke to one of his fellow workers, and his fellow worker said, "Well, the problem is, Nasruddin, our boss, the baker, he's a miser, he's a skinflint. He makes us all work for nothing. And if you go and try and ask for your wages, he'll laugh at you and say, 'Of course I'll pay you.' And then he'll set you an impossible task. And it's only when you complete the impossible task will you get paid. But because it's an impossible task, none of us get paid." Well, Nasruddin, as I've said before, is a wise fool or a foolish wise man. Either way, he set his mind to working, and he went to go and see that baker, and he said, "I've been working here a few weeks now, and I seem to have worked out that it's about time I should be getting some money so I can go and feed my empty belly." And of course, the baker turned around and said, "Nasruddin, of course, you are a good worker. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and I would be pleased to pay you a wage. But you see, the thing is, Nasruddin, it's a small thing, but I have to set a challenge to my workers to prove that they really want their wages. And so I'll have to do the same thing to you. You must cook me a meal, and the first course must consist of ooh. And the second course must consist of ah. And if you can do that, Nasruddin, then of course I will pay you your wages. But if you cannot do that, then I must dismiss you and you will have no wage at all." And Nasruddin thought about this for a moment, and he said, "All right, I will in fact cook you your meal." And so Nasruddin went to the kitchen and he started work, and he started to cook up a storm. And by the end of a few hours, there was a table laid, and oh, the food that was on it, that was exquisite. And the baker, his nose alerted him to the fact that dinner was ready. He came downstairs eagerly, he sat down, and he waited for his first course. And before him, Nasruddin placed soup. So the baker grabbed his spoon and he, oh, he cried as the soup was piping hot and filled with chili. And in a moment, Nasruddin passed over a nice ice cold glass of milk, which he drunk down fast, said the baker. And then he looked at Nasruddin and realised that the ooh and the course had indeed been served. And with much begrudgment, he gave Nasruddin his wages and dismissed him on the spot. Well, this story, as all good stories do, travelled by mouth to ear, until finally it fell into the ear of the king. And the king was impressed. Somebody so wise, he needed that man on his council. And so he told his guards to go out and find Nasruddin, who was easily found trying to eat more pie. Well, Nasruddin, he was brought to the palace, and suddenly he found himself with a well-paying job, surrounded by luxury, fine fabrics, soft beds. This was a wonder to the poor old Nasruddin. And each day the king would call him and ask his advice. Until one day the king called for Nasruddin and said, "You are now my most trusted advisor, Nasruddin. And well, you see, I've been sat around a lot recently, this lockdown and all that, and I've been pretty weight. And I've been trying to medical records and all sorts of things about trying to lose it. And I've read an article about if you eat at the correct time, then in fact you start to lose weight. It's better for you." So, Nasruddin, do tell me this. What hour is best for one to eat? And Nasruddin thought. And he looked at the king and he said, "Well, Your Highness, surely it depends on who you are. For if you are a king like yourself, then you are surrounded by wealth and luxury and you can eat any time you wish. But if you are a pauper, then the best time to eat is when you find food." And so tonight, so we can all find food when we need, please make sure that you visit our Just Giving page, make a donation, and please, please, please change somebody's life right now. Thank you.
Well done too.
Woo! Wow. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the big total, start doing the drum. We have reached 78% of our time.
Wow.
We are at £550, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, but we still have a way to go, and even when we reach our target, we can still collect more. So, you know, let's make somebody's day. These videos are going to go up onto our YouTube channel soon. So please, 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 if you know of a friend or family member who didn't get to watch this live tonight, do send them the link. Do tell them to visit our Just Giving page, and let's make some money so we can give to the food bank, so we can give to our Bardic brethren and keep this stuff going. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much. I hope to see you this time next year in the flesh at York House, doing the Bardic Trials once again, where we will decloak Andy Powell. He can stop hearing "All Hail the Bard."
All hail the Bard!
All hail the Bard!
All hail the Bard!
Oh, hail the Bard!
Shoplifting.
Our 11th Bard. But please, ladies and gentlemen, for now, give yourselves and each other a huge round of applause. And when you leave, do remember, leave quietly. You have neighbours. Thank you.
Everybody, thanks for doing that.